Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 13 of season 3 of the F123 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here in Belgium. The final race, of course, before we head into the summer break. If you missed out yesterday's video from Le Castellet, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. I'm still reluctant to say we are back on F123. But I can't help but feel a bit confident at the moment. Of course, yeah, like I said, there will be spoilers in just a moment. But before we do that, though, if you are new around here and you haven't already, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed to the channel as well. Of course, daily F123 My Team content until we win that World Championship. But having a look then at the World Championship, we are still in 9th place. They're just 2 points now back behind Oscar Piastri. Sergio Perez with a 34-point lead at the top of the table there. And you can see Ferrari still sat behind Red Bull and ahead of Mercedes. We're up to P4 again, 34 points clear of Aston Martin. Audi definitely hit the ground running last weekend now in Le Castellet. Our first win of the season, and you know what? I'm hoping we can try and make it win number 2 this weekend. You know, go into the summer break with a bit of momentum behind us, of course. We've got a sprint weekend, though, here from Belgium, so even more racing laps. Let's get into it. Jumping then into sprint qualifying here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Of course, it would be nice if we got the new qualifying format implemented to F123, but I totally get doing videos like that would be an absolute nightmare, to be honest. What would I do? Both qualifyings and the sprint race in a video, and then just the main event in a separate one? We'd be looking at like over hour-long videos if I put them all in one video together. But yeah, anyway, though, jumping into qualifying here from Belgium. The aim today is going to be a sub 100 second lap time by the looks of it. Sergio Perez has done a 140 flat. So if we want to be fighting out again and hopefully trying to claim pole position again, we're going to need sub 100 second time here. And I am expecting the times to continue improving as qualifying goes on. Fittipaldi does jump out of the way at the last moment, so thank you very much to him. Of course, the other good thing is, obviously, it was only a couple of days ago I did my Belgian GP League race. Of course, highlights from that went up here on the main channel, also over on the second channel. We'll be racing at Qatar tomorrow night, actually, from when this video goes live. So check me out on Twitch if you want to go watch that race live. Should be live from about 7 PM UK time. But purple then in Sector 2 here. Hopefully we're going to get a decent time on the board. Of course, want to make it out of Q1 and out of Q2 on just a single run if possible. Just obviously because we want to have that one fresh, or 2 fresh sets of tyres ready. Whoa, for Q3 there is big rear lockup, but we somehow gather it up without much of a correction. A small stab of the steer in there, keep us on the straight and narrow, and there we go, P6. That should be enough. Okay, yep. Now we really need to try and get sub 140s then. Albon and Lewis Hamilton actually provisionally tied after the first runs on a 139.7 at the top of the table, so that's the goal that we're aiming for. Could we do a 1997 Jerez and get the top 3 matched for times? I'd be very impressed if we had a closer qualifying than we did last weekend out in Le Castellet. Just 6,000ths of a second, wasn't it, between us at the end of qualifying? But we got to make it into Q3 first of all, as I did wonder there for a split second whether that would be lap invalidated, but we get away with it. Down in towards Eau Rouge and up through Radion. Super easy. But obviously I really am hoping as well that Belgium desperately needs a revamp for F124. This track is good fun, but not really accurate. Again, purple through Sector 2. This time around, they were second up on Kevin Magnussen, who has set a 140.5. So we could be right on the money, though. Definitely, again, opting for a high downforce config like we did in Le Castellet really does seem to be suiting the car quite nicely at the moment. But in towards the final couple of corners, braking at the 100-meter board. No rear locking this time round. So just trying to keep it clean and tidy on the exit of the bus stop. A little bit of wheel spin there. And what's the time going to be? 39.4. That is P1 there and fastest. And that should be us through Q2. 39.4 in Q2 felt good, but it was hardly a dominant run either. Esteban Ocon actually in the Alpine, they've always been good round here on F123. Half a tenth away at the end of the session. So we have got 2 runs here to try and make it count in Q3. But what sort of time are we going to be able to get there? A little bit of wheel spin as we head out of the final corner. But now we're really taking things seriously, trying to set ourselves up for the best run in towards turn 1 there. Clip the curbing nicely on the apex, up to 4th gear on the exit there. Use that curbing on the out still. It'll really help you out there. It's actually nudged the wall slightly. So you head down the hill, try and get those wheels over the inside of the curbing, both on the entry and the exit. Of course, over Rouge Radion, I know I've said it before, but not really a corner anymore. Completely flat out in these current cars. 220 miles an hour as we head down the Kemmel straight and down into 4th gear. That's really now trying to tap the curbing as we go up to 5th. Oh, and a little bit of a wobble there as we try to get into 6th gear. So tiny snap on this first run. Down into 3rd gear as we head through the, not Fanyas, is it? Malmedy, and then through No Name. Next corner, that was a good line through there. Can we get away with not changing down through Puon? That's flat out. We can take that flat. I did not know that was going to be possible here in qualifying. It might be down 1 gear to get the extra torque, but we might, yeah, I'm going to try it on the second run. I'm not going to give up on that. It's definitely a flat out corner. But anyway, making our way though in towards the final few corners of this lap. Purple again through sector 2, 2/10 up on Perez. And what's the time been by him? A 1:39.8. So it hasn't been the perfect lap just yet. We could probably get close to a 1:38 here by the end of qualifying, but just want to try and make sure we get this first lap on the board. Braking at the 100-meter board, clean and tidy. Don't attack the curbs too much. Leave it in 2nd gear on entry and on exit, and then short shift back up over the line. 39.3, but Albon has done a 39.2. This might well be the most important lap I do in this series. I love Belgium. I love doing hot laps around here, and the car feels good at the moment as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. Let's try and see if we can get into the 1:38 here. Albon again. Could be another Audi front row lockout, so we've got to be careful. A couple of cars coming up behind me. Avoid the bump on the inside. Short shift back up the gears, and let's do this. Just losing tiny fractions of time here and there. I'm not convinced we've got enough unless we absolutely send it through the final chicane. It could be Alex Albon on for his first ever pole position here in Formula 1, but my God, this Audi car is quick at the moment, trying to attack on the brakes in towards the final couple of corners out of the final turn. Just put the foot to the floor, but we've lost even more time. It is going to be Alex Albon on pole for the first time ever in Formula 1, but it's only P3 for ourselves. Well, if ever there was any doubt about just how good Alex Albon is inside F123, that should go and shut it down there. Quicker than Max Verstappen here around the Belgian Grand Prix circuit. We line up P3 though, ready for the sprint ahead of both Mercedes. There, Gasly beats out Sergio Perez, so a bit of a nightmare for our championship leader, but it is sprint race Saturday time here from the Belgian Grand Prix. I sense the opportunity to win.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. What a great lap from Alexander Albon yesterday. He'll start from pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Mr. Monaco, Hamilton, Russell, Gasly, Perez, Leclerc, Ocon, Sainz, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Joe, De Vries, Fittipaldi, Liam Lawson, Bottas, Tsunoda, Théo Pourchaire, Stroll and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Points finish. It was a win mark. I don't know why he's trying to downplay my achievements at the moment, but clearly that is why we've lacked confidence all season long there. But here we are then, ready for sprint race Saturday from the Belgian Grand Prix. 8 racing laps ahead of us, and this one is gonna get interesting there. Alex Albon on the pole for the first time ever in Formula 1. Max Verstappen desperately wants to try and beat his teammate and outscore him by a few points this weekend before the summer break. But what can we do from P3? Ready on the grid then here for the Belgian Grand Prix, waiting on those 5 red lights. Very long hole, but it is lights out, and away we go there. And actually a much cleaner start than Max Verstappen as we head down in towards turn 1. Oh, the Dutchman, though, will just about outbrake me there through the first corner and completely chop across my nose. So Verstappen will hang on. Hamilton up to P4 there ahead of Perez, who moves himself into P5. So decent start by the Red Bull here as we make our way up through Rouge and Radion. But are we going to see the Dutchman try and get a run on his old teammate Alex Albon as we head down the back straight? I'm sure there's a little bit of personal vendetta between the pair of them there, as Albon will hold firm by the end of the Kemmel straight. But yeah, I mean, if we could get a good battle going between all 3 of us early on, my goal on these opening couple of laps is just to try and hang on here. We saw just how much pace Albon had towards the end of the French Grand Prix last weekend. Red Bull have certainly not got a slow car by any means. It just seems to be that we're both finally clicking with our car. But as we make our way down in towards P1, definitely going to be a lift and a downshift in race trim there. But I'm absolutely astounded the fact this car can handle that flat out in qualifying. But yeah, don't want to lose touch of our front 2 at the start of this. Need to make sure we stay in the DRS range, as it already looks like Hamilton starting to drop back ever so slightly. So this could again be another Red Bull versus Audi kind of battle here inside F123. But is it going to be both Audis versus one Red Bull? Or are we going to see Perez get close? Or are we even going to be able to get close to our top 2 there, as Verstappen again hounding Albon as we come towards the end of lap 1. Oh, a little bit of a lock-up there from our teammate. I'm going to follow him apparently as we try and correct a slide on the exit of the corner as well. And that just brings us all a little bit closer together. Are we seeing Verstappen try and get a run on Albon this time around? Alex is going to go defensive from him. The Dutchman to the outside of our teammate Audi versus Red Bull once again here. And this time around, Verstappen firm on the brakes there, gets his elbows out, but Albon's having none of it. The Dutchman then not able to claim the place, and I thought it was a done deal as they made their way down through the chicane, but apparently not, as Perez has now moved up into P4. So it is Audi, Red Bull at the front of this field. You can see though Verstappen at the final corner, all 3 of us trading fastest laps there. It's a 141 in race trim. Absolutely ridiculous here around the Belgian Grand Prix circuit. But pulling alongside there, Max Verstappen, as we head out of turn 1 there, side by side, down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. This is scary. Side by side with the Dutchman there, we get a little bit of a wobble as well, similar to how he did in the real-life Grand Prix, but we'll now both add the DRS, as I'm trying to hound the Dutchman, Albon trying to defend for all his worth. We're going to try and box him in slightly, but not confident enough on the brakes there. The last thing I want to do is miss my braking point and slide into the side of my teammate, but is Perez going to be able to get closer as he watches all these battles going on? We are pushing. We seem to be able to get decent pickup out of the final corner and the first turn here. So we are trying to use that to the best of our abilities, almost into the back of Max that time around out of turn 1. Whoa, you can see the slingshot we're able to get though as soon as we get on the battery there. As Verstappen again though, maybe just panicking slightly. Try and take a bit of a compromise line. Tiny blip of the brake to make sure we don't go into his diffuser. But now again, both of us with the DRS on Alex Albon, hoping our teammate's going to go defensive. We're on the red line though, 227 miles an hour, 3 wide. Oh, there's contact between myself and Alex. I think there was contact between him and Max as well, as Verstappen will swoop through and into the lead of the Grand Prix. We're going to get a run off the corner to the inside of our teammate, but can't quite get it stopped again. Just a bit too cautious on the brakes. And now Perez has absolutely joined the party. This is proper Red Bull versus Audi civil war. Oh, Verstappen, big lock up there down at the final couple of corners. Albon's going to be hesitant, and we're going to make our way past our teammate then and up into P2 of the Grand Prix. And I tell you what, Austria, that sprint race there was incredible as well. So clearly sprint races are working at the moment inside F123. Verstappen now is going to try and defend down the hill as Albon don't drop out of the ERS. He has dropped out of the DRS range there, so Alex Albon maybe now in a bit of trouble as we're going to try and get a run on Max Verstappen once again, just over half distance here in this sprint race, and we haven't seen the Red Bull team be pushed like this in a long old time there. Verstappen really trying to squeeze me, not giving me an inch as we get towards the Lacombe chicane there, but we'll get right around the outside of the Dutchman, and to the lead we'll go of the Belgian Grand Prix sprint race. Now we've got to try and run and see if we've got the pace to break free. Whoa. Big moment there, as Verstappen is going to sense an opportunity down the inside through Malmedy once again. Just got a little bit of a wobble, similar to how we did in qualifying. He's got to make sure we give the Dutchman room. Side by side as we head down the hill. You don't often see cars side by side in towards Blanchimont. Verstappen, I hate to admit it, but that was an absolutely fantastic move there. Had the confidence that I wouldn't be able to match him on the brakes and just slipped right in front of my front wing there. No contact was made between myself and the Dutchman, but he has absolutely had me there. And what's the only thing you can do when someone makes a move like that on you? Make sure you beat him overall in the race. I'm not letting Verstappen take that one and take the confidence with it as well. We are going to come straight back swinging against the Dutchman. Full ERS usage as we head up in through Blanchimont. As contact here last season in the race. Almost contact again this season in the sprint between myself and the Dutchman there. Perez now trying to get involved in the squabble as well, as Albon maybe just starting to struggle a little bit. Surely you can't go from pole to P4 at the end of the sprint race here, but surely we can get a run on the Dutchman as we head out of La Source. A little snap of oversteer there isn't going to do me any favours, but clearly Max as well not able to get the power down the way he would have wanted to. So let's wait and see, trying to time the run, make sure we don't get too close off the exit of Radion there. Want to try and really time the run out onto the Kemmel straight, and that's what we should be able to do now. Oh, Max Verstappen trying to push me defensive once again. Where is Perez going to get... Whoa! Clearly did not have any intention of moving back over to the racing line there, and even more contact made between myself and Max. The gloves are well and truly off between myself and our Dutch rival here. 1.5 laps to go as we're going to try and muscle our way back to the inside. Nope, not able to make it happen that time. Whoa, Perez just rammed into the side of me as well down the hill, so maybe Christian Horner's gone over the radio telling him move me out of the way to try and get the Mexican into P2 there. But this is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best sprint race I've ever had inside F123. This is what sprint racing really should be like on this game. But are we going to be able to get close enough to Max Verstappen once again as we get ready to start the final lap of this GP? There is still so much at stake here. So make our way in towards the final couple of corners of lap 7 again. Max is really trying to control the apex speed at the moment, trying to slow me down wherever possible. You can see lap times 3 seconds off what we were doing earlier on. So clearly just how much Max is trying to control everything there, as at turn 1 will go for the final time here on Saturday. And you can see now Max Verstappen using the battery, everything that Red Bull's got. We are going to leave it on full deploy as we make our way through Eau Rouge and Radion there, and it has worked for me. To the outside will go of Max Verstappen, who again is going to try and give me a bit of a squeeze. So we head down the Kemmel straight though. Are we going to be able to get clean around the outside? We're going to have a little bit of grass on the tyres, but we get the car slowed down and we are back to the front here in the sprint race. Now all we've got to try and do is hang on for the last 4.5-5 kilometres or so around the Ardennes Forest here. Perez is still waiting in the wings behind his teammate. He's had a fantastic recovery after a bit of a ropey qualifying session there to finish right behind his teammate at the moment. But you can see Verstappen struggling now to even keep up with me. So I reckon he's given it absolutely everything, taken all the tyre life, taken all the battery he possibly could out of that car. So maybe a little bit better management from myself in this sprint. But what a dramatic 8 laps it's been here from Belgium. And the best thing about this, we've got 22 more of them to go in the real Grand Prix. Out of the Stavelot, a couple of 90-degree rights will go for the final time here on Sprint Race Saturday. Max Verstappen, he has given it his all around this circuit, but it is not going to be enough today. Sergio Perez now really getting up behind on the gearbox of his teammate as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. We are going to take the team and our own very first sprint win of F123. Get in there, back-to-back dubs.
I'm so sore. Yes, nice work, mate. You did a really good job today. Pretty sure the boss is going to be happy with that one.
So let's review the driver's standings. This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Well, that wraps up the sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
There we go, from P3 on the grid to P1 come the end of sprint race Saturday. We will take the dub here to kickstart the weekend. Verstappen P2 ahead of Sergio Perez there. Albon in at P4 ahead of Hamilton and Charles Leclerc there, with Russell and Gasly rounding out our point scorers there. Sainz a bit of a nightmare, only able to recover the one place ahead of Esteban Ocon, but yeah, I mean, if the real race is anything to go by, this is going to be a mega GP here. Championship-wise, don't think we've really seen many changes. We will get the jump, actually, on Oscar Piastri there. 5 points back now behind our teammate Albon. We have got a lot of momentum behind us. Let's do this thing.
Welcome then, as we take a step back into the nostalgic golden days of motorsport. Spa is unashamedly a throwback, and all the better for it. Climbs, drops, sharp turns, chicanes, sweeping high-speed corners, all while taking in some of the most beautiful scenery that Europe has to offer. This might sound like a travel brochure, but it's not. It's a race day. Welcome along to Spa Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Albon, Hamilton, Leclerc, Russell, Gasly, Sainz, Ocon, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Magnussen, Fittipaldi, Liam Lawson, Joe, De Vries, Tsunoda, Théo Pourchaire, Bottas, Sargent, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, I've just been thrown straight into the race. I got no strategy, nothing. 5 red lights, it slides out and away we go. I have never had that before on F1. As we head down in towards the first turn then, Verstappen will try and have a look clear around the outside of me once again like he did in the sprint race, but I was going to do my whole intro about how it's the second Grand Prix that we're lining up on the pole, but apparently I'm going to get none of that here in Spa Francorchamps then. So as we head out onto the back straight for the first time, 5 laps of extra fuel. Don't quite know why that's particularly helpful, as here comes Albon down the inside of me as well. We got Charles Leclerc trying to have a look. Perez had a bit of a nightmare start by the looks of it as well, dropping back down the order. But yeah, Verstappen though, dream start here, 2 seconds clear at the front of the field, as we're going to slot back in to P3 very early on. I'm sure Alex Albon has got the bit between his teeth after the disaster that was yesterday's sprint race, as we immediately pick up our first warning then of the afternoon. But I'm tempted to try and see if we could take a set of softs in the second half of this race. I don't think we're meant to be expecting any rain here, but it would have been nice to know. That is a very odd glitch that, like I said, I've never had before in any F1 game. It just chucked me straight in. Here we go. Charles Leclerc, though, trying to look down around the outside as well at the final corner. So, I mean, effectively, it's like we've been caught napping off this start there, just because I was not expecting it. Verstappen will lead the way at the end of lap 1, of course. We're just about able to hook it up. But where is Charles getting that straight line speed from? Down around the outside at turn 1. Not going to make it easy for him. And once again, we will hang on to P3. But, yeah, I'm really going to have to use these first couple of laps just to regroup and focus up then. 2 seconds already behind Albon, who is trying not to lose touch of Max. Hamilton, though, immediately is going to be trying to apply the pressure as well. Luckily, it looks like we might have enough straight line speed. Or Lewis there, bit of a half-hearted attempt down the inside, as Russell will get past Charles as well. But now, yeah, hopefully we're going to be able to focus. Well, Verstappen had a bigger lead by the end of lap 1 than anyone did throughout the entirety of yesterday's sprint race. But yeah, we're starting to close in on Alex Albon again. I feel like it has taken me just a couple of laps to get back in the rhythm, remembering sort of how the car handles, the nuances, everything like that around this Belgian circuit. But yeah, starting to close in now on my teammate Albon. So, I mean, it's still very, very early doors, but it wouldn't surprise me today if it was kind of myself versus Max at the front of the field. But Albon still sat there just outside the DRS range. I've just got to remember, with how upgraded this car is, we can use so much battery around this venue. Now we're finally inside the DRS though of Alex Albon this afternoon. Seems like the AI are definitely running a bit quicker than they were in the sprint race. But as we head up through Eau Rouge and Radion, are we going to be able to get a run on my teammate? DRS for us, no DRS for him, but we are definitely running higher wing around this venue and not quite going to get close enough as we get to the end of the Kemmel Straight. Oh, I do not want to turn in too early there and pick up a really stupid warning. We'll have to try and find another avenue. Come on then, almost already at 1/3 distance this afternoon. Racing laps do go by super quickly around Spa, but again we're close to Albon as we make our way down into La Source. The AI really do not seem to be able to get the power down out of that first corner, and of course that gives you pretty much the extra momentum right the way down through Rouge and Radion and all the way up the Kemmel Straight as well, as we try and get back on the battery as early as possible. We were not able to get close enough last time round, but this time, whoa, Albon! Come on, man, we made it pretty clear we were going to your outside there, and our teammate wanted to give me a big old squeeze. I know we're locked into a championship battle with him, but we've got to work together still, as we will make it through and up then into P2 once more of the Belgian Grand Prix. The gap to Verstappen back down to 3 seconds. No second warning. I got no more of those we can use this afternoon. So already having a bit of a nightmare in that regard. See, as I mentioned in the sprint, I did a league race here last week, didn't get a single warning, which I was incredibly happy with to kickstart the campaign, but 2 in the opening 8 laps. We've got to be careful. Gap to Verstappen is still coming down. At the moment, I'm kind of getting Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Räikkönen vibes from 2008. Max has very much made himself the king of this venue over the last couple of years, and I feel like the young upstart who's trying to stop him winning again. Oh, big lock of the rears there, big swing of oversteer to try and keep the car in check. As we have now, well, we're about to cross over onto lap 10, but yeah, Verstappen and I are both pushing like crazy. The gap to Albon is really opening up behind. It is versus myself versus the Dutchman here, but all I need to do is try and get back within that DRS. Oh, big lock up down the end of the Kemmel Straight there. Lucky to keep that one between the white lines, because you never know when you're going to get a penalty inside F123. But yeah, now at half distance, might see Max Verstappen peel into the pit lane at the end of this lap. My goal is to try and go at least 1, maybe 2 laps longer and then go softs to the end. I just feel that's going to be the only way we can get to the Dutchman. But this has got to be one of the most intense races I've ever had on F123 against the AI. We are just trying to give it everything, but Max and I are pretty perfectly matched round here. I reckon Max is diving into the pit lane because he's used a load of battery. So we head up in towards the final couple of corners, and yes he is, Max Verstappen is the first to blink then at half distance here. Who's going to start the next lap on the lead? It is going to be us. But yeah, now we've got to try and go probably to the end of 14, I reckon, if we want to go softs to the end. Oh, come on, we do not need moments like that either. Is Verstappen going to come out and clear out? It really has thinned out, actually, towards the front of the field. Back marker's losing a lot of time, and that plays into Verstappen's hand beautifully. He might re-emerge in P4 here. He's actually going to be racing with Carlos Sainz on pit exit by the looks of it. Yeah, no, he's come out in P4 then, so that's just how far ahead Audi and Red Bull are this weekend. There we go, Albon into the pit lane, and I'm sure Sergio Perez is going to follow. So they've actually been able to go more than half the race on the mediums, which is reassuring for us. But yeah, do I gamble at the end of this lap? I think I've just got to stay out the 1 extra. As Verstappen, that gap's starting to come down just a little bit, but we've got to push on. It's so painful at the moment, seeing us losing time to Max every single corner of every single lap. But I know we've got to do it so we can try and be quick towards the end of this race. We're going to have 8 laps where we can absolutely hound him here is George Russell. Don't quite know how he's moved up to P3. Did Verstappen just set a new fastest lap of a 43.1? I've done a 42.7 there, and that's not fastest, so I think maybe it was a 42.1, I don't know, but maybe the fastest lap was broken, because obviously it simmed the race start. Oh, that was close to a warning. Right, anyway, end of 14, we need to be brave on pit entry here. Time and races can be won and lost in the pits. It's going to be very, very close between us and Russell. I don't think he's pit, but I can't see a way in which he'd be so far behind if he hadn't. So I don't quite know what's going on there, but into the pits we go. Nice and tidy on the marks, just about get the car slowed down right where we needed it. But Verstappen, yeah, is easily going to be out in the lead of the GP there. Maybe Russell has just had a mega run about the first half of the afternoon, but purple on the entry. Verstappen, though, up into prime position. We can't have any issues. No! That's going to really cost us potentially. 4.2 seconds stop. Where is George on pit exit? There he is. So we're going to re-emerge then in P3 side by side actually with our teammate Alex Albon as we head down the hill. And I'm actually going to let him have it there so we can try and get the DRS up the Kemmel straight. But that's been a nightmare. We're a good 6 seconds behind Verstappen then at the moment. As clearly we didn't get the DRS off my teammates. We're going to have to drain the battery as we head down this back straight. We still should be able to get him though. Fresher, softer tyres at the moment. But Albon, oh, there's contact between us. Albon, I was hoping we'd just back out of it, but clearly didn't want to. And the first potential ripples, or rips, showing in our relationship with our teammate. But we've got to push on. Back to Verstappen then, 7 seconds at the moment, with 7 laps to go with this Grand Prix. Well, I've got to get in the DRS range of Russell, and it looks like we have done. That's going to be critical. A few extra tenths in the pocket, but yeah, Russell clearly has done some strategy that I've not been able to keep track of today, because it's worked out beautifully for him. One of the Alpha Towers, though, grinding to a halt towards the rear of the field, as we're definitely not going to get close enough to George. Down the Kemmel straight, we are definitely running a lot more downforce there, as that was again lucky not to be a penalty. Running the higher downforce, but also we have got those ICE well worn out components. Oh, we cannot afford to lose time though. This is critical this afternoon, as that Alpha Tauri is very much making a meal of breaking down. Can we get down the inside of George though as we head out in towards Puon? No, we cannot. We'll have to slot back in, but he's so slow. George Russell really does need to get on with it. And we get around the outside of him at the bottom of the hill. No, George, come on, man. I get that, of course, he wants to try and defend his position at the moment, but this is really, really costing us a chance at the win, as down the inside of Russell will go. Robust move there and back into P2 of the GP, but that cost us a good half a second or so. 42.3, new personal best. 6 laps, 6.5 seconds to max. I tell you what, 5 laps to go. The gap down to 5 seconds, 41.7, new fast lap of the day. This keeps going the way it is. This could really come down to the wire between myself and Max. 4 laps, 4.6 seconds. It really does feel like this is going to depend on whether we get the DRS or not on Max Verstappen. Oh, come on. Those little errors, though, we cannot be affording to make. No, it's over. The dream's dead. 3-second time penalty late on. We were just pushing absolutely like crazy to try and get to Max before this race is down and out, but yeah, I mean, I'd still want to try and get to him if I can, just to see if we would have had the opportunity, but a 3-second time penalty is going to put pay to any chance of the win. Oh, yellow's out. We've got Aston Martin going slowly. I think that might be Piastri falling to the wayside here. Yes, it is. Very, very late on in the day. Too late, in fact, for us to even potentially try and think of the idea of a safety car, but 2 laps to go. This lap's actually been one of my better ones in terms of how much time we've taken out of Max. See a little bit of wheel spin there, though, at the final corner. It is going to be agonisingly close. This is absolutely going to be the hardest I've ever pushed inside F123, and at the moment, it is basically all for nothing. Verstappen, Red Bull have had this championship so easy when they've had a dominant race car, but today, we are just not letting them get that opportunity there, as he gets let by Logan Sargent in the Alpha Tauri. So Red Bull, I'm sure, just reminding their junior driver of the car coming up behind him, and unfortunately Sargent isn't even going to give me the DRS as we start the final lap here of the Grand Prix, and is even going to try and show the nose down at turn 1. Just what I always wanted as well there. But, you know, this race could have panned out so differently. Had we not been held up in the pits, we would have been out ahead of George Russell. It would have gained us a couple of seconds there. And, of course, we wouldn't have lost probably about another second behind the Mercedes as well. So, absolutely feel like going into the summer break, we have had the pace to win these last 2 GPs. But Max Verstappen, the Red Bull, they are just winning machines, of course. And, I mean, yeah, Sergio Perez in the other car, way further back down the order. So, Verstappen is going to have an opportunity to take big points out of his teammate as well. And, you know, to be honest, because obviously of the penalty, you know, had we been able to get Max, would have probably been very, very gutted with that. Because, like I said, I feel like I've driven this car better than I ever have done before. This has been 22 laps of absolute all-out attack. That has been incredibly good fun to do, nonetheless. I might actually put this whole feature race over on my VODs channel as well for anyone interested. You know, if you just want to see all 22 laps of this. But, yeah, I mean, we've got 10 seconds to George, so even if I picked up... Hello. I was about to say, even if I picked up another penalty. Verstappen, though, is suddenly going to get a little bit of breathing room on the final lap of this Grand Prix, so it is not quite going to tell the full story when we get to the checkered flag here. But this has absolutely been a race of what if. The pit stop definitely cost us come the checkered flag today. Max Verstappen, though, is going to go into the summer break with another win on the board. We are going to get our second P2 of the season, but that really could have been a win there as the Dutchman actually broke down towards the line.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes!
A difficult race then on one of the all-time classic circuits, but they persevered to take the win here today. What do you think it was today, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they've secured here. And the rest of the standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, there we are then. I hardly think P1 in the sprint and P2 come the end of the race is a disappointing result there, but boy, I would have loved for a perfect weekend. Final race results, Max Verstappen takes home the dub, but we did claim the fastest lap bonus point as well, and so 19 points on the board when all is said and done. And yeah, like I said, I don't think I've worked that hard in a race for a long, long time on F123 there. Russell P3 ahead of Albon, and Hamilton, Leclerc, Perez down in 7th ahead of Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz rounding out our top 10. So it was Red Bulls, Ferraris, Mercedes, Alpines and Audi 2 and 2 motorsport cars that locked out the top 10 this weekend. It means championship-wise, though, heading into the summer break, Sergio Perez 14 points clear now of his teammate Max Verstappen. George Russell 66 back ahead of both Ferrari cars there. Hamilton is 6th, but we're now up to 7th place. 2 points ahead of my teammate Alex Albon, and 200 points there for the team. So, yeah, despite a really bad run at the start of the year, last couple of Grand Prix, we have absolutely picked it back up and got ahead of our teammate once again there. Further down the roster, I don't think there's any other movers in the championship. Ocon gets past Lando, Norris on countback, and constructors-wise, though, Mercedes and Ferrari tied heading into the summer break as well. That on 289 points apiece. I mean, if we can maintain the momentum we've built up recently, I see no reason why we can't close up to those two teams in the second half of the campaign. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back tomorrow then when Formula 1 returns to Zandvoort. That track I have had no luck on in F1 23, so hopefully with this newfound progress we can have a good race there.